CEO of GT Ventures, currently located in Slovakia, but definitely a U.S.-based company, and I think headquarters are officially in San Diego. So anyway, Curt, can you go ahead and kind of enlighten us a little bit about kind of what's your perspective right now as far as just how IoT projects are being leaded per se, funded, different types of consortiums and so forth that you're seeing over there in Central Europe?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I've been part of your group for a few years now, although I've been, in Europe for the last couple of years. But I think you're doing a good job, and thank you for having us. I'm going to talk about how we get some deals funded. I have some IoT clients. We're getting funded here. We got some creative ways that we do that. And part of it is, government subsidized. And then I'd like Andre Hermo to talk about the government funding. I've been working with him on a number of deals up to 200 million and going through this arduous process of the applications and investment plans, that sort of thing. So I've done a lot of the work, and I'll tell you, Andre is better than I am. He actually gets find some things that I've missed, but he's an expert at this. And it's not just filling out the applications. There's so many funds here in Europe that it's hard to figure out which one to go to, based on your size and your industry, and even which country. If you go to Western Europe, they don't really need the subsidies as much. So the EU Commission really pumps a lot of it into Central Europe, and the wages are low, and they're growing here. So it's really kind of a sweet spot in all Europe if you want funding. So Andre is going to talk about that, and then Deepak, one of our other partners, is going to talk about partnerships. So we have an IoT company in Slovakia that's going to be funded by a big fund out of Taiwan. And Deepak, part of the success is Deepak's bringing in another very large smart manufacturing software company to partner. We found that they both can work together, and they're very complementary. So he'll talk about that. So I'll just spend a few minutes. I know this is a busy slide, but if you look at IoT and the startups, funding's kind of down the overall market. But IoT is really still hanging in there. And the point of this whole message is that there's still a lot of confidence in IoT. It's fewer deals, but the investment rounds are higher. If you're looking at early stage IoT, they're doing pretty well. They're Series A, Series B. But the later stage, and I thought this was interesting, are the ones that are having some trouble, down 54% in investments. What does that tell you? It tells you that the VCs are, they've lost some confidence, and a lot of these VCs aren't really pulling in a lot of refreshed capital. So a lot of them are kind of pushing off some of the deals that they have and not continuing to invest in companies that aren't doing real well. So lack of patience. But if you look at, again, the industrial sector, you'll see that it's doing really well. It's double the average investment. So that's when you're talking about industrial IoT, combining it with AI and some other industrial type of smart manufacturing. And again, that's where Deepak's really helped us out in our clients. So you could find a lot of this information on your own, but just for my opinion, it's still a great space. And as I was talking to Gary about, you really can't be in ESG or lower carbon type of solutions unless you have IoT, because you have to be able to measure it, right? You need to have sensors. So I see that this is really going to be a part of everything, from the mobility to the renewables. Everything that we're kind of working on includes IoT. So, you kind of think about it like the internet in 2000. Cisco was kind of the plumbing of the internet, and so I see IoT as being part of that as well. So I'm bullish and excited about it. So let's just talk about the EU's Green Deal, and talk about the Inflation Reduction Act as well. But EU announced a few years ago $2 trillion in funds of Project Green Technology. And so what is that about? Climate action, clean energy, sustainability. We all know this, and it is interesting. But what we've seen is that it takes a long time for the government to spend this money. The money all is in the EU Commission, and they push it out to these different countries, and then they have trouble sometimes spending it. Like in Slovakia, I think they were, they had, and Andre will know better than I did because he actually worked with the government for a while on these deals. I think it was 12 or 15 million. They had a vote of no confidence in the government. So they got rid of it and they put in some temporary government. And so September 30th, they'll have more elections. So what does that mean? It means they can't seem to push out the money fast enough. So they might have to give back $4 billion. And that's crazy because, they need those money for projects, for jobs. And that's really what's kind of generating all the activity in green. And what I think is the future. If you're not in some sort of green business now, you don't know what you're going to do. You're probably going to wind up in this space in one of these areas. So anyway, it's important. A lot of money it's starting to really flow now a lot more. We put in some applications for quite a bit for the Just Transition Fund. It's taken 2 years. Now they're ready. The other funds are a little faster. And again, all those nuances I learn every day, but I often tap Andre to kind of help me figure out what we should be doing and where we should be going. Now, what is also interesting is the Net Zero Technology Act. Because it's taking kind of a long time to get this money out, they also passed a Net Zero Technology Act. And so what does that tell you? It really is about, solar power, hydrogen's big, EV chargers, anything in that space. I'm not seeing as much in the agribusiness, in the buildings and renovations. I think that they're really trying to really focus in on the really cool technology that I think is going to help and in net zero or the lowest emission technologies that they can find. So that's just to give you kind of a climate of where we are. So here's some of the relevant technologies. And again, this was before the Net Zero Technology Act. But you see IoT is one of the top ones, industrial robots. You could kind of anticipate some of these things. But, the virtual world, I think that's more for digital twins, which we could kind of talk about in the IoT as well. But 3D printing, I'm not really seeing much of that. But cybersecurity, we're seeing that really, really pick up. And we all know why, right? But especially being in this region, we're, 5-hour drives to the border with Ukraine. And so, that these governments here are getting attacked and a lot of their messages are being collected, although they can't really decrypt them now. They're harvesting these, and these quantum computers are coming in and they'll be able to, crack all this stuff. So it's harvest now, decrypt later. But that is really a concern here in Central Europe, in the country of Georgia, Romania, Poland. You can imagine with the supercomputers or quantum computers with China, working with Russia, they're using everything they can. So there's a lot more that I'm sure is happening that we don't know. And for what I know, it's pretty bad. We'll just leave it at that. So what do? We do a number of things. So we really help U.S. clients come to Central Europe, mostly for this Green Deal and the amount of money that's here. When you get some government subsidies, it really gets the attention of the private equity guys. If the government's done their job and they think it's important and willing to pay, half of the infrastructure cost over 5 years, and that can be 50 million on a $100 million project, the private equity guys think it's probably lower risk. So they're really watching us and seeing how we're going to be able to pull these off. We've got a huge pipeline of what we've already submitted. So now we're raising private money as well. It takes a little time. And our projects run from about 20 million to 120 million. But again, securing the government subsidies is important. Working with the European Investment Bank, European Bank of Recovery and Development is important. But, they're banks, they're aggressive, that's good. And then some partnerships I think are pretty important as well. So let's see here. Somehow I think I almost ended this. Okay, so anyway, I'll just talk about some of our clients today: lithium batteries for electric vehicles, silicon anodes, biotech robots, everything that's in the sweet spot, right? And we follow the money. So we do a lot of cool things and we get a lot of attention, but it's because we're smart enough to know, let's go where the government money, they're kind of signaling where the whole industry should go. And now we're seeing that happen more in the US, and we're actually seeing some European companies approach us and having them help in the US. So I've got a couple clients now. One of them is the IoT client. And then we have another green hydrogen bus that we haven't quite signed, but I think we're close. And then also I've got hydrogen funds from Singapore and some funds here in Luxembourg that want my assistance in New York. So from my investment banking days, Silver Bear in Hong Kong, I've got a lot of those relationships. So it's nice to be able to help, the Europeans get into the US as well. So that's what we're doing. And anybody have any questions before I turn it over to Andre, and he can kind of talk about the maze of trying to get this funding, which is available. It's just not easy to get sometimes if you don't know what you're doing. Did I stop sharing? Is that good? Or, yeah.
Questions here? All right.
So I guess I stopped. I think Deepak has he may have a conflict. So why don't we go with Deepak now? Would you mind, Deepak, presenting your piece now?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yes, thanks.
Okay, go right ahead.
Great meeting everybody. So here goes. So I work with Kurt on a bunch of these technology stuff. So I'm on the technical side. Let's see. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes. You know what the slides are here for us. I'll look at them.
Okay. Can everybody see the slides?
Yes.
We can, but if they could be full screen, it'd be awesome.
Full screen.
That's the limitation.
So I think that's the limitation.
That's it. That's good with me.
So basically, I'm jumping to IoT, what Kurt was talking about earlier. So there's a lot of things happening now finally, because basically it's to reduce the congestion and efficiency and also savings. So it's really from the savings standpoint. So if the company or the government spends $1, they get X amount of dollars back because they're saving a lot of either they're saving electricity or other things like transportation. And this is actually very practical nowadays. So it's a lot of places, even in Dallas, Texas, and other cities are getting a lot of these smart cities. And there's a bunch of applications, like Kurt was mentioning earlier, like smart lighting and EVs and all these other technologies that are helping reduce consumption. Basically, like an example. So traffic's, the biggest thing is in some cities, it's getting to be where you can't even maneuver in some parts when it's peak traffic. So the market is really going to be large because it's going to exceed 2.4 trillion by 2027. I think it's going to be even larger because a lot of other companies that are deploying this are seeing a huge demand. So there was a supply chain issue that was happening earlier, so they're able to get the chips out now. So that's one of the other things that's happening. Is a lot of cars and EVs. It shows smaller on this, but there's a lot more EV funding now from the government than ever. And a lot of battery factories are being built. So this is just a traffic thing here. So everybody loves rush hour traffic. So it's not, it's really happening where you're getting to be it's causing a lot of problems with being productive. So that's going to be one of the big things that's going to come from IoT. And I'm going to jump into smart manufacturing, which is also related to IoT. So basically, it's the generation where the factories are getting more efficient using connected devices. So these are devices that gather data and they can help improve the efficiency and also reduce a lot of electricity and power because energy is getting to be more costly and also it consumes a lot of revenues. So here's like an example of this, the supply chain. And we're working with several companies like Kurdish Nation. We've got a lot of supply chain issues. So of course you've got ERP, SAP, Oracle, all these big companies, they're deploying these ERPs. So all the data goes back to the dashboard and they can see this remotely and monitor the factory and improve the efficiency. Because if you improve efficiency even by 30%, that could be like millions and billions in some cases. So there's a lot of demand for this because it's a cost savings and also efficiency. And here's, the market size again for Industry 4.0. It's basically right now it's going, like a hockey stick. It's going to grow exponential because of the rise of these energy credits and all these initiatives from the federal government to reduce and become more green. So it's going to become a lot more efficient. And the more efficient they become, the better the more grants they get. And this is basically in a nutshell. So you've got, a lot of manufacturing. Basically, you can see 87%. So it's a huge amount of manufacturers. A lot of them are in Texas and Midwest and everywhere. And there's basically the planning has started, in some cases deployment. So we're working with a multitude of companies, and I was at several conferences recently, and one actually with Europe, with Curt in that area. They were surprising to see that it's really moving much faster in Europe. Europe standardized Industry 4.0 earlier, but the US now has a lot of initiatives to basically to adopt smart manufacturing. And a lot of jobs are going to come. So there's a lot of jobs, and I think it's great that the universities are getting up to speed on this, because obviously for these jobs you need the skill set. So the universities have to play a big role in this. So it's a huge savings. You can imagine 50% of downtime. That could be $1 billion for like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, John Deere, Caterpillar. So it's a big initiative, and it's important. Hello?
You're here. Yeah.
Okay. So just making sure we can hear me. And basically, if you want to find more information on this, connect with me on LinkedIn or connect with Curt, and I'll be happy to forward you some information about this. So I'm just, at the, like about last year, working on some smart stuff, and I've been working on smart cities about more than 10 years, but the smart manufacturing is definitely happening a lot faster than even I've ever seen in the history of manufacturing.
All right, thank you.
Sure, thanks.
All right. So, Curt, you're muted if you want to say something.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Deepak and Andre. Take it away there.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. So my name is Andre. I've been working with Curt for some time. As he mentioned, we've been working on some 200 million deal here. And I will not tell you much about IoT. I will not tell you about the importance, because we all are here. So I suppose we all recognize the importance of it. And I will speak on what I understand a bit more, that is public funding in Europe. I actually started my career on the other side of the fence. I started working for the Ministry of Economy, one of the investment agency, and then after working on few deals on the state side, I jumped to the other side of the fence, and now we are working with Curt. So we're actually focusing on, this is the Central European region, Poland, Slovakia, Czechia, and Hungary. And you may ask, out of the 27 countries of EU, why do we only specify and focus on these four? And it is actually pretty interesting. But these four countries, they've been democratic only since 1990. And actually, after the fall of communism, they went through a quick market liberalization. They attracted quick investors because they were not doing good economically. So mostly traditional manufacturing, heavy industries, low-tech assembly lines came to these countries. And as they joined EU in the early 2000s and NATO, and they modernized and developed infrastructure, now they have a very good standard of living, good infrastructure and all that. But the investors are slowly moving to less developed countries, to less developed regions, to Eastern Balkans, to Central Asia, Middle East, etc., where the manufacturing is cheaper. So all of a sudden, the governments realize that they have a problem. So they're very, very hungry to attract high-tech investments, software developers, IoT, innovations, high-tech manufacturing, and all that. And that's why we focus on these 4 countries, because the government, we do not need to convince the government that they need good modern companies. They want them, they are hungry for them. And just to attract them, they have so many different instruments, different schemes, from investment aid, EU funds. There is hundreds of different EU funds, from clustering of companies, research and development, innovations, AI. You think of it, they have it. Just transition fund to help those regions with heavy industries, mining, aluminum, to develop modern industries, and different grant schemes. It is actually so much, it can even get overwhelming from time to time to pick and model the different options to make sure that you're getting the best deal. But it's also about the process. And the thing is, it's really important to ask first and answer, for whom are these support schemes and aid mechanisms. And we're really talking high-tech manufacturing, research and development centers, software development centers, and different technology centers. For example, I said I will not lecture about IoT. For not that long, I wasn't really sure what it is. I had an idea, like this popularized version of what IoT kind of is. And then a few months ago in December, we landed the first client that was a multinational corporation trying to establish IoT software development center in eastern Slovakia. So it is happening. It is even coming to those regions that you might or we might consider a bit underdeveloped. So the time is ticking, and it is really important to see. And this is the money slide. So I think this is the slide that usually people like to see. The state aid ranges from cash grants to property and income tax relief, contribution to new jobs, but also different grant schemes. And on the map, you see the different countries. The one on the top is Poland, the one on the bottom is Hungary, Czechia and Slovakia. Those are the maximum amounts that the public funding can cover. We're not talking about pennies and coins here. We're talking about up to half of the eligible expenses, and that means in this case you can either count eligible expenses as capex, as investments into long-term tangible assets, buildings, machinery, even software, whatever is under that, or you can count salary expenses. So we're really talking, of course, depends on the specific company and which region you go to. 60 or 45, 50 is the max. But even if we're talking about 30%, that's a significant cut if you compare it to not getting any. And the important why I think we are faster and more efficient at how we do things is that most public funding advisory companies, they are based in one country and they talk to that one government and they negotiate and deal, and after all you have one offer. After some time also with Curt, we were thinking about how to make it faster, how to make it more efficient, how to be able to be broader and cover more. So right now what we do is that we actually we create a storyline, and at this point we know what each government of each country kind of needs. Which region, this region focuses more on just making any new jobs, while this more developed region focuses on bringing the high-tech manufacturing, or this region is strong in software development and all that. So we create a storyline for each of the countries. We pitch it to the government agencies, the investment agencies, or the Ministry of Economy, and we negotiate. And these, European countries, small countries, they like to compete with their neighbors. So the moment they find out that oh, you as an investor, you're also in a negotiation with the neighboring countries, they do not want to lose their face that their competitor country would get the investment. So we not only use the fact that we pitch it to multiple or all of these four governments at the same time, just to get a variety of deals and to be able to select the best one. But I think the most interesting one is the leverage. To use, oh, Hungary got us a better deal. Maybe you can work it out, and let's talk about how we can actually move it up so we come to the region and bring the added value of modern technology, software development, or high-tech manufacturing. So I think also, if you have not considered this region of Europe, I'm not surprised. Not many people have. It's a small country. We're talking not about something that's comparable to a small chunk, tiny chunk of the US. But the investments are always the most interesting in developing countries, because you can really cut some costs there. And while they're good quality universities, good skilled labor that is not only catching up with the standard of US, but is at the standard. So get in touch with Curt, and we can definitely talk about what this region can offer, or what partnership can be created on this level, because there is an unleashed potential, I think here also with the public funding. So keep it in mind next time you're thinking about expanding, growing, that you can grow beyond the borders of the US. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Andre. That was terrific.
Do you have any questions? Sorry. All right. Of
No, that was very helpful. Thank you.
course. Pleasure.
So, Curt, do you mind maybe just giving us your perspective right now, kind of the military conflict that's just on the other side of the country there, and how that's going to, what the potential is for opportunities and springboarding out of Central Europe, potentially.
Right. Well,
rebuild.
I think, there's a lot of opinions here, and I kind of keep a lot of it to myself, right? You've got people on the Russian side, Ukraine side, just from a political aspect. General feeling is this thing's going to end hopefully this year or next. I mean, it's there's a lot of money involved. What we are focusing on is the Ukraine rebuild. We think that's going to be huge. I spent a few months in Ukraine 2017, and I really liked it. I like the Americans there. There's a whole group, and it's like living in a small little town in a foreign country. They all really kind of stay together and work hard together. We think that the rebuild, just even from the trains and the way stations in between Ukraine and Slovakia, is going to be, they're auctioning off this one, transportation logistics thing that you have to go through to put equipment and supplies from one train to the other, because the train tracks are different, as you probably know from World War II as well. But then the rebuilding of homes, there's about $1 trillion that is going to be spent, and everybody's waiting for this war to be over. But you know what I found out, and we'll be talking to Brussels next week, is they're already awarding contracts. They're not going in yet, but they're actually taking vendors and giving them some business for telecommunications and so forth. So everybody's kind of waiting to see where that goes. So the proximity of where we are, I think it's going to be advantageous. So we feel bad about the war, but I'll tell you, I'm really kind of proud of the Ukrainians for doing as well as they have. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But we're business guys, so we're trying to figure out how to make some money as well. Andre probably has more insight than I do, because he's worked closer with the government and is from Slovakia. So you want to share your opinions, Andre, or you prefer to keep them to yourself?
No, definitely. I mean, I mean, it's weird to talk about war as an opportunity, but it is that, and the government sees it too. Like I see it every day, and it's not only, it's all the governments that border Ukraine, because they know that the border regions are always the most developed, because that's where the trade happens. That's where you have plenty of movement of goods. So they're actually, when you look at all the websites of the ministries of economy in Europe, they are beyond preparing for the investment wave. They're actively engaging in their conferences on almost weekly basis with regards to it. And we spoke about it today with Kurt during the lunch, that it's not in the stage of hypotheticals. It's the deals are being struck, and they're just, as you said, waiting for the trigger for the war to stop. And they are launching also big, not only deals into infrastructure, but also there is high expected unemployment because of all the withdrawals, much cheaper labor and all that. So there will be plenty. Also, right now I have a client that just is relocating from Ukraine to Central Europe because their factory was destroyed. It was in the eastern Ukraine near Dnipro, and they are saying it very openly. This is not a factory that we will settle with. The moment it's over, we're just kind of keeping our capital rolling, and we're going back and we're going to rebuild the factory. We're keeping that door open. So it's going to be a big boom that we all want to be part of, I believe.
Anybody have any questions?
I have it, but this is a question for Kurt. I mean, are you looking for investment opportunities from the US? So for example, if I had an idea, could I send you a pitch deck, or how does it work?
Yeah. You look me up on LinkedIn. I had my email is kurt@gtventures.io, or hit me up on LinkedIn. Yeah, we've been focused here the last couple. Now I'm getting to raise some money, and then also I have some funds, Singapore and some other funds in Luxembourg, that are asking me to help them. So I've kind of re-engaged with a lot of the other partners on my team from my Silver Bear Hong Kong days, and we're doing deals. I'm doing bigger deals and more deals, I think, in the US than I'm doing here now. It's kind of odd because that's just kind of flipped in the last month or two. So yeah, go ahead and send it. And there's no real magic to raising money. It's just not easy. It means have to know a lot of people and what they're looking for and who's going to talk to you. So I'm happy to take a look, and if I can help, happy to do so.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Well, Kurt and crew, thank you. Appreciate the fact that you guys have stayed up as late as you have.
What time is it there?
What time, man?
So 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Good for you.
dude.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, being on this side of the world, it's the way it is. It's part of the job. So we appreciate you giving us the time. And, we'll be coming to Dallas. I will be for sure. And we've got a client, Deepak will be there. Maybe we get Andre to go, but like to attend one of these in person again. It's been a couple of years, and, do some partnerships, get to know you guys, and however I can help, we're happy to do so.
Kurt,
When would that be?
I'm thinking in the next month, sometime in August. It's interesting. I came here for 3 weeks. I left my car in long-term parking at LAX, and then deals started getting weird here, so I had to stick around. And then I couldn't leave, because if you leave, they wouldn't let me back in. You can't stay here in the Schengen area for more than 90 days out of 180. But COVID was a special situation. Anyway, I've stayed longer than I'd like. Now I'm a temporary resident, which was a long process. I got the temporary resident so I can leave and come back. So yeah, I'm thinking about, I'll know in the next few days, but I'm thinking San Diego and then Dallas for the most of the month of August.
How big's your parking tab going to be at LAX?
It actually is about 5-minute drive from LAX. Because I'm parking at somebody's home for like $100 a month, which was cheap. It's usually $200, $300, or $400. So yeah, it's not actually LAX, so it's close by.
Yeah, and by the way, where'd you go to high school?
Richardson High School, Fighting Eagles,
When did you graduate?
1979. And so, yeah, I'm getting up there. So I always come back for my 10-year reunions, 20 and 30, wherever I am. And then I went to UT in Austin. Excuse me?
You're up to 46 now. That's reunion.
Yeah. Our 50th is coming up in about 6 years. So yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah.
By the way, he also went to UT.
Yeah, I went to UT in Austin, and then I went to TCU, and I left Dallas in 2013 to go to Hong Kong. Spent 5 years there, and so I kind of move around a lot. But I'm trying to get more going in Dallas because I like the city and I like the food. There's no Mexican here.
Are you sure you want to be here in August?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I worked construction on that heat wave, 1980. So I don't think I'm as good a shape, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to stay outside a whole long time. I mean, so I'll survive.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right. So as I
Bye.
mentioned earlier, the reason I wanted to get this up front, this is a networking group, and the whole purpose is to meet somebody. Again, build your ecosystem. So what we want to do real quickly is quickly, because we got craziness going outside and whatever, and we'd like to kind of adjourn over in the bar and get to know each other a little bit. But if we could quickly go through just under 30 seconds, introduce yourself, your company is, if you got a quick ask of the community, let us know. All right.